Halal Travel Podcast.
Assalamualaikum and welcome to another episode of the Halal Travel Podcast. You're listening to me, Hazra, Rauda, and Nurul. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Nice to meet you. It's been a while,
We're
yeah?
back.
So it's been about 3 months now. We hope you have been safe and well. We last wrapped up in about December 2021. Okay. And now we are in April 2022. So how has your 2022 been?
2022 has been a year I would call sleep. I have always been a night owl, and I think this year I want to change and be more of a morning person right now. Yeah, and I think I can do it lah. Even though I've failed multiple times, but I think this year will be the year.
Inshallah can.
Inshallah.
5 a.m. club eh?
Maybe 4 a.m.
No,
Wow,
ambitious.
very impressive.
Okay, how about you?
I don't know, 2022, I don't have big plans. No real plans, but I'm just hoping that it will go by slower than past years, because I feel like already we're in April, and next thing you know, it's gonna be like end of 2022. I'm just going through the motions.
Go with the flow.
Yeah.
Okay. So for my 2022 is, I think this year macam a bit, I have a lot more control. Macam last year macam gila, it's like I have school and I have work and like I want to die. But now I feel alive. Alhamdulillah. So extra. Okay, anyways, so today we are going to talk to someone inspiring again, okay, like our past episodes, but this time she creates such an impact to the lives of so many people every day. Okay, she is someone who guides or rather assists with individuals who wants to reintegrate back into the society, and I feel like today we will have so much to learn from her.
Definitely.
Okay, like especially what to say and like how do I support them, etc. So today we have Syafiqah Sudarmo from Yellow Ribbon Singapore. Hello Syafiqah.
Hello.
Hello.
Welcome.
Hello, siapa di sana? Gitu eh. Hello Syafiqah, how are you?
Good, thank you. Thank you for having me today.
No worries. Thank you for coming today. Okay, so Syafiqah is a career coach at Yellow Ribbon Singapore, helping ex-offenders with their reintegration journey. Okay, at the same time, she's also pursuing a graduate diploma in social work at Singapore University of Social Sciences. You know what school there?
Hey, you guys are schoolmates.
Yeah, schoolmates. Okay. Prior to joining Yellow Ribbon Singapore, she also worked as a caseworker at SANA, also known as Singapore Anti-Narcotics Association. So how long have you been in this line for now?
Okay, so I worked in Yellow Ribbon for around 1.5 years. I think in Sana for around 3 years, 2.5 to 3 years lah. So probably around 4.5 years so far.
So you must really like it,
I do enjoy it. I mean, it's very rewarding, so I do enjoy it lah.
Nice. So maybe you can explain to us a bit more, macam what is the role of a career coach in YRSG?
Okay, so a career coach in Yellow Ribbon, basically we provide, like what you mentioned earlier, we provide career retention support for ex-offenders who have already secured a job through us prior to their release. Yeah, so we will work with them very closely with them and as well as employers for about 6 to 12 months in terms, we call it case management lah. Yeah, so we will monitor their performance to make sure that they are able to transit back to the environment, the workplace as seamlessly as possible, because most of them, they've been inside for quite some time, so they don't really know how the work environment has changed, or maybe they have not hold a full-time job for a very long period of time as well. So that's our role there, to just make sure that the transition is as seamlessly as possible.
I actually, prior to this, we actually had a call, you know, to just get to know Syafiqah a bit more. And I must say to you guys, just get ready for all the interesting stories to come.
Okay.
Syafiqah, the pressure's on you.
You know.
Okay, now let's take it back a few years ago. Let's say, when did you get to know about Yellow Ribbon Singapore?
Okay, so I mean, if let's say my first knowledge of Yellow Ribbon Singapore, I would say is actually from one of my close friends who had a family member that was incarcerated lah. So from that experience, I mean, she was a really close friend of mine. So I really saw how that whole situation impacted the family. and also impacted herself as well. But also through that process, I was made known about the resources and the assistance that was available in the community. For example, Yellow Ribbon for job support. There's also other community partners for example, financial support or even family counseling support lah. So from there, I kind of knew about these services that was available, and it kind of like intrigued me to be part of it lah. Because for me, I feel like it's very important that I am in a workplace that kind of inspires me every day when I go to work, a more meaningful workplace. Yeah.
I definitely understand. I think, being part of Yellow Ribbon Singapore, I think I've heard of them ever since I was in secondary school.
Yeah.
So it's been quite a long time. And in Polytechnic, we actually had a chance to interview one of the ex-offender. And oh my God, the story is very, very much life-changing. And, it takes multiple times to turn over a new leaf for them. And I think I don't think I can ever imagine that. But yeah, I think kudos to Yellow Ribbon sebab we have this organization that actually supports ex-offenders because they come with their own set of challenges, when reintegrating back.
I think also not just helping the inmates, I think Yellow Ribbon also helps spread awareness of how it's important to support ex-offenders in the integration back in society. I think the education, the awareness part, I think really plays a big role in how they're being perceived as they enter back.
So you've been in this line for 4 years, kan? So maybe just give us a teaser, one memorable instance and you maybe in the earlier part of your career that actually changed your perspective on certain things, maybe?
Okay, so I think when I first started out initially in Sana, for example, I remember because I had this opportunity to kind of explore the reasons and the aftercare issues of why they involve in drug taking behavior, for example. Yeah, and I think for me, there's this one particular female client that I had who was involved in this drug taking behavior because of her partner. It's not really because she wanted it or she looked out for it, but it was really more because of her partner. And her partner was really involved in a lot of negative activities lah. Yeah, so even though she knew that the behavior was wrong, she knew that this is not what the lifestyle that she wanted, but she continued to remain in that relationship despite it being extremely unhealthy because she mentioned that she was financially dependent on this guy lah. Yeah, so even though she has that awareness, right, she was not able to leave that relationship because of it. So when during the program, she was attached to an employment, and that was the first time she ever worked full time in her entire life. So I remember she worked in a retail store lah, and she really, really enjoyed it, and she did so well at it that she was even promoted. So I remember whenever I speak to her, she'll always come back to me very excitedly. She said that, oh, today I got my pay and I can finally belanja my family. And she have never belanja her family in her entire life based on her own money or based on her own effort lah, basically. Yeah, she go oh, I can finally buy toys or school supplies for my kids for the first time. And it really, really empowers her to actually be financially independent, and it made her realize that she's actually capable to be financially independent. And throughout the end of the program, right, she actually managed to leave that relationship and actually applied for her own rental housing where she can actually stay with her children together. And it was actually really something it struck to me lah, because I remember she calling me, she'd be like, oh, I finally get my first time, I got 3 months worth of payslip for me to actually even apply for a rental flat, because she have never gotten a single payslip in her entire life before. Yeah, and she was really, really proud of it. And it really was very heartwarming experience lah to go through that journey with her, to find out that she is actually capable, and how employment actually empowers her throughout the journey lah.
And I think that's also part of your job kan, macam to assist them macam in their employment journey, especially when they are fresh out of the fresh reintegrating back into the society.
Mm.
Yeah. So maybe you could share with us a bit more on macam what is the process like for an inmate to reintegrate back into the society, to just like be a bit more clear so that we can have a bit more information.
Like how they prepare, is it?
Yeah, I think that's like it's not often talked about, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So actually the reintegration journey actually even starts the moment they are upon admission to prison lah, the moment they are incarcerated. So the moment they're inside, they will be undergoing like a few assessment to determine their risks and needs, and based on that, like appropriate programs will be charted for their interventions lah. So there's a lot of programs inside prison. There's correctional programs, family programs. Yellow Ribbon also provided like skills training, upgrading programs, religious services, and everything. So like prior to their release, the offenders are usually have to go through like these multiple reintegration programs so that they are more prepared to when they go back into the society lah. Yeah, so during the tail end of the sentence, right? So that's when our services come in. Like Yellow Ribbon will provide job coaching and job placement so that we place them to jobs so that when they release, they are secured with a job. They will also be placed with like more community-based counseling. They also have sometimes officers that will follow up with them as well after they were released. Yeah, so after they release, and that's when I come in, I will coach them in terms of their employment processes. Some of them receive counselors that will coach them for aftercare services. And they also have officers that will help them for other issues that they are facing, basically. Yeah, so the whole reintegration process actually begins the moment they enter prison itself.
I see.
May I just ask as well, what kind of jobs do ex-offenders usually get placed into?
There are multiple jobs available. I mean, starting from warehouse to food establishment, to even administrative duties. I think there are a lot more employers that are coming on board currently. So we do have a variety of sectors that are willing to be on board with this program lah. Yeah.
I see. So maybe how I think being reintegrating back to society, I think it comes with its own set of challenges. Maybe if you could recall some of the struggles that they go through, bouncing back from where they were.
Oh no.
Yeah. She hasn't blinked for a really long time.
Sorry. I think I missed that part.
So maybe some of the things that I've been really interested about is what are the struggles, having to bounce back from where they were, and like, obviously they come with their own set of challenges. How do they cope with things like that?
Yeah, so usually clients come out, whenever they come out, they are faced with multiple stressful situations. Usually it comes from, for example, families' expectations, society's expectations, financial difficulties. That's usually the number one issue, financial difficulties. They usually come out and they don't really have enough savings to support them before like their first pay. And then also going back to their community, going back to their negative influences, the environment. All of these are like stresses that clients face. So for financial difficulties, we have again community partners that are able to assist them. For example, like the social service office. Usually we can link them up to social service office to get short-term assistance for them. Yeah, for families' expectations, I think this is when our role come in, like counselors, career coaches, and other officers that are involved. Usually we will try to talk to them and understand that what are they able to do. Like usually we try to break down and equip them with like problem solving skills. Like because they're usually very overwhelmed by a lot of things that are happening in their life. Like for example, a single mom that goes back, and then the family will have these expectations where, oh, now that you're back, it's your turn to take back the caretaking duties. But then when they're just released, they have so many things that they have to settle. Like, they have outstanding bills payment that they have to settle. They have to make sure that their employment are in line with what they like, adjusting to the employment, adjusting to the outside world. So yeah, so sometimes we need to get the understanding of the family members also to know that, it's not easy for them as well. It's also like a challenge for them. Yeah, so in this case, like you really need to rope in everyone that's involved, the family members, themselves, and managing like each other's expectations. What is it that they can do? What is it that they can help get assistance from? And like, by setting goals, like smaller goals with them, like how can they achieve it?
In times like this, do you talk to the family members? Like, is there a sharing?
I mean, if there is a need to, sometimes we do, but for my role in particular, I do not talk to family members lah. But there are other partners like the counselors or their officers who are more in contact with the family members. But because we are partners and we work together to help the same client, right? So usually we will share the information lah. If let's say I know of this information, we will share it with our partners saying that, okay, this is what is happening. Maybe you might want to check in with the family and maybe we can have a discussion together in how to overcome these challenges lah.
I see. So it's quite a process, can?
Correct, yeah.
I'm just like really curious because you're a career coach, right? But does it also fall under the category of social work, or is it like a separate thing?
I guess it is part of like social services to our clients. Yeah, but if for my job in particular, I guess we don't really need social sciences background. I guess you just need like a heart for it. Because I think for us we focus mainly on career, the employment part lah. Yeah.
Do you tend to get attached to the ex-offenders that you are working with? I feel like to a certain level, when you're trying to help them get back out there and like you kind of understand their stories and you learn about their backgrounds and their families, you do tend to get attached quite a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's normal. It's something which we have to tell ourselves that we're also humans, and their stories are very compelling and also inspiring as well. Yeah, but then I guess there's also some boundaries that we have to adhere to lah in terms of as professionals.
Sure,
Yeah.
Ultimately, you want to see them do well, right?
Correct.
It kind of reminds me of teachers as well, right? Like you have seen them grow from a small kid to a young adult, and after that they flap their wings and they fly. Somewhat similar. You have to say goodbye at the end of the day, and I think what you're doing is really impressive as well. And I think it teaches you a lot of life and patience, especially, right? Yeah.
Correct, yeah. I mean, I believe that at the end of the day, it's kind of like both ways. It goes both ways. Like I learn from them as well a lot. And like you mentioned, like when they kind of like fly away. I mean, when we completed like our case management with them, usually like they will still contact us like to give us updates on like what is happening in their life if it's significant. And whenever like my clients come back to me and be like, oh ma'am, I finally like get this done, or like I'm already here, or I finally got promoted at accounting. It's really, I mean, these are the reason why I continue to be in this line lah.
Can you imagine?
I don't know why, but I feel like small steps matter the most, I think. Because I think, for us, I think we always, I want to get a house, I want to get a car. But I think for them, like small steps really makes a difference. It really shows that their resilience, their the willingness to change. I mean, yeah, I think it's very commendable. But anyways, fun fact, guys. So recently, when I was listening to Nurul's answer, I remember the time when I was teaching as a relief teacher at a school, and I happened to bump into my primary school teacher. So kira kan like how many years has it been? 17 years since I last met this teacher. And when I see her face, I'm like, hey, Hazira. Now I'm like, I started bawling.
Oh, serious?
Yeah, serious. I'm like, oh my god. Because I start to think about the time that she taught me, the time that she guided me. So macam when going back to seeing my teacher again, the one who has so-called like brought me up, macam tiba-tiba macam sebab.
Yeah,
Gitu.
especially when she remembers you.
Yeah, I pakai mask pula tu. Still remember. So I mean
Wow.
like, I think if I were Syafiqah and like an ex-offender still remembers me after so long, I think I pun akan nangis lah. So kudu Syafiqah bukan tak nangis. I think yeah. Amazing lah Syafiqah. Okay. So maybe you can share with us a bit more on some of the stories that you remember. Let's say macam workplace issues that arise, when reintegrating back to society, macam do they feel insecure or something like that?
How can you maybe like employers who are looking to hire ex-offenders make the environment be more, like you said, seamless in terms of the integration for them? Like how can we better adapt?
Yeah, I think for employers, we need to have a lot of understandings on client situation as well. Because I think, like I mentioned, we have a lot of challenges upon their release, right? And mainly like it comes with like financial issues, etc. So they will have to have a lot of appointments upon their release. Like for example, they have to go to a social service appointment, they have to go to HDB appointments, etc. So so they need to have a lot of understanding on the employer's point of view also, in terms of like, they might be taking quite a few number of leaves upon they start their work. But some employers will be like, oh, why are you taking so many leaves? Like, can't you do it on your off day? But the thing is, during off days, these offices are not open, right? So they do have to take like leaves, and they do have to, sometimes they have also child care duties, if let's say they're the single mother and then nobody else is able to take care, or like the one that is taking care, is usually someone that is really like age or old already. So there's a lot of understanding that is needed from the employer to understand the challenges that these ex-offenders, these clients are facing when they first reintegrated back into society. And when you give them the trust, right, usually they will be able to kind of give their best during the employment. And then also there was this one time where, like one of these stories that I have whereby like my client was working in like this food establishment. And then I received a call from the employer saying that my client was involved in a verbal argument. Like basically there was a fight going on in the shop and that causes, like the employer told me that I think I would like to terminate this client. I don't think she's suitable for this workplace. So like to manage the situation, I had to propose a joint session with my client and the employer, and quickly like went down for a site visit. So when I was there, I found out that my client made a mistake because she was given the wrong instruction by a colleague of hers on a large order. So she made an order of like 60 orders instead of it for being only for like 2 orders, that kind. Yeah, so she was really, really angry because she took a lot of pride in her job. And she felt that it was very unfair because the mistake was not really her fault. It was someone else's instruction towards her. So what she felt was that the colleague was intentionally like out there just to get her because of her background as an ex-offender. Yeah, so when I was talking to the employer about this, and the employer shared his point of view, the employer said that, he acknowledged that client has been a good worker so far. And he acknowledged that client, and he said that he was very, very supportive of client throughout the whole process, because he saw potential in client, and that he actually was in talks of even promoting client to be the supervisor. But because of her behavior that day, right, they were reconsidering his plans, saying that she is not able to control her anger or even manage the conflicts well. So when the employee shared that, what client felt was that she reflected on herself. She said that, oh, I didn't know that, the supervisor was looking out for me, because I always thought that everyone was actually looking at me like differently because I'm an ex-offender. Yeah, and she was like, she kind of reflected. She said that, this job is very important to me because, I'm a single mom. I have and a mother that I have to take care as well, and how important it is, if let's say I get promoted, it can help me with my financial situation. But because I was kind of impulsive in that way, she mentioned that she just kind of like outburst herself. So when I kind of like break it down with her, and she actually shared that it's actually because she didn't know how to express herself, especially in a workplace setting, especially when talking to the supervisor, because she said that she doesn't really have very good command of English. So she felt very inadequate, that she doesn't have that skill to actually even talk to her colleagues or even her supervisor. So that's why she always feel very alone. She always feel like, everyone's out there to get her, when that is actually not the situation lah. So from that joint session, she was actually very thankful that I came down and tried to settle things out with her, because she said that if it was her in the past, she would have just walked up and she would just quit the employment just like that. And then, it's like another employment gone, another employment that she was not able to retain lah. Yeah. So, after talking to the employer and everything, the employer kind of understand where she's coming from, and we try to give her advice in terms of like, if you're unhappy, or if you think that it's not fair for you, how can you better say it to your colleagues and to your supervisor. And the employer decided to retain her in that job, and because of her good conduct, she was actually kind of like promoted to be a supervisor like a few months later lah. Yeah.
Wow.
Very cool.
Very cool, right?
Yeah.
Tapi macam, I think about it again, macam if I were in that situation, I think with my overthinking mind and my insecurities, I really would have done what she said, which is to walk out, because I would feel so small, So maybe like you can share with us, how do we support, how can we show our support to ex-offenders, to show that we're there for them, or ataupun macam like, come on, let's change together. How do we show our support without being inappropriate, I would say.
Okay, I mean, the community, right? The community plays a huge part in terms of like creating this like stable social environment where this ex-offenders and like the family members will have like a sense of belonging and hope to. So for us to create this community, I think it's very important for us to be very accepting, understanding, and also patient with them lah. I think we can always show them their support, because most of the time they feel a bit insecure. They feel that everyone is always looking, differently towards them and everything. So giving them a bit of like that confidence boost by like, acknowledging the efforts that they're making. For me, what I realized with my clients is that every day is a challenge for them. Every day is a challenge for them to overcome their addiction. Every day is a challenge for them to overcome their own challenges, be it family, be it in employment, be it in the society. So I think if you're just like a little bit kinder with them, we acknowledge the effort that they've been making, right? It really, really does make a lot of difference. And I think that's where I saw in Yellow Ribbon also, because like for Yellow Ribbon, we kind of like encourage for these ex-offenders to give back to the society as well. Yeah. So for example, like even this year during like, I think during the 2020, the COVID period lah. So actually like many like inmates and ex-offenders actually like give back to the society, because they've been receiving a lot from the society, right? So like I think in like March 2020, like the inmates actually like bake cookies for the frontliners. And then like the ex-offenders from the halfway houses actually help to like deliver these baked cookies to the frontliners and the healthcare institutions lah. Yeah, so from this like actually it's kind of like a two-way thing also. If you give them the chance to kind of like build the trust, and then they also will use that effort that we've made for them and give back to the society also lah.
Would you say also that as individuals like us, if we ever chance upon an ex-offender, we could also give them some words of affirmation and words of encouragement, even though, we don't really know them that much, perhaps?
I mean, I would just think that like how would you know that that's an ex-offender if you don't really know them? So it'll be a bit of like kind of
evil moment.
Yeah. But I mean, if you know someone that was an ex-offender and you know that was the background, and he was that person is open to share that part of him, then I think giving words of encouragement and acknowledging that effort would make a lot of difference lah.
I think the stigma is real. I think like as an ex-offender, you will feel already insecure about how people look at you, and then like also and reintegrating back into society, having missed out on like this amount of years from what's happening out there. Naturally, I think you have feelings of self-doubt, insecurities. So it really is up to the family and the people around them to support them, I think. And what can like people who have no relations to ex-offenders or people like that maybe support, like what Hazira said, in some of the Yellow Ribbon projects or any Yellow Ribbon campaigns? How can they show or volunteer at any activities that you have?
Right. Okay, I think at Yellow Ribbon we also have a volunteer program. So I think you can just always look out for the initiatives through like Yellow Ribbon's Instagram or maybe Facebook lah, for all the initiatives that are available. I think there are also a lot of other grassroots-led initiatives from the ground that is also assisting on this group of people as well from the community. So I think just being aware lah of what are the different initiatives available. I think through social media is quite easy for us to know about the initiatives that are available currently.
Have you ever macam throughout your life your career coach journey have you ever met someone yang has been an inmate for so long that when they get released ataupun reintegrate back into the society, they feel like Singapore has changed? I feel like I have heard some stories where, let's say like near the expressway, tiba-tiba when I am an inmate, there wasn't an expressway. Bila dah keluar, suddenly ada expressway, airport, like that.
Yeah, of course. I think I have this one experience where I had this client. I think he was in his late 50s. So he's been inside for around like 4 to 5 years. So he went out after 4 to 5 years. Like, and I think in Singapore, 4 to 5 years is like a lot of development have changed. Like even I think when he released, he said that even his house like have changed, like the neighborhood have changed. There's so many development. So for this particular client, he has been working as a driver throughout his entire life. So he prides himself in like knowing the Singapore road. He's like, I know the Singapore road, like no worries, I can be a driver again when I come out. So he became a driver, he became a delivery driver and he came out. And the thing about him is that he don't even know how to use smartphones. So I think like when he was inside, I think it's somewhere in 2017, 2018, where there's no more 2G phones available in Singapore, right? Like the whole services is being cut off. So everyone has to like kind of upgrade themselves to use like 3G and smartphones. So yeah, so it was his first time like having a smartphone, and he went out lah. So on the job, he's actually supposed to use GPS lah, because it's a delivery driver job, right? Like he didn't know how to use GPS. He didn't even know what GPS was. So he couldn't even like fulfill his job duty for the day. And then he's like, because the area that he's supposed to deliver was like somewhere which he felt confident about. But then when he start on the job, he didn't even know anything, because he's like, all the exits are different, the roads looks different. There are new buildings everywhere. And he was so lost that I think like on the first day, he called like me, his officer, and also his employer, like while in tears. And you imagine this like, and like a 50-plus-year-old man, he was like, I couldn't do this job. I can't do this job anymore. Yeah, so I think at that point, the employer was actually really nice. So they were like, no worries. Why don't you we assign you to an assistant driver lah, who will assist you for like the 2 weeks. And we'll see how it goes. So like together with that assistant driver, we kind of like help him learn how to use the GPS. He was actually very resistant to use the GPS. He's like, no, I can memorize. But then we're like, it's better for you to use GPS for you not to get lost. Yeah, and then like he doesn't even know how to use WhatsApp. So like when we send him message, he will read it, but he doesn't know how to reply. So after we send him messages, we have to call him to like double confirm whether he saw the message lah. So I think like there's one day where he actually managed to reply. It was just like 2 or 3 words, but all of us were like so proud of his reply. We immediately called him. We were like, "Oh, you sent us your first WhatsApp message. Like, congratulations!" Yeah. So I think it's the small things lah. Like, you think that you didn't really make. I mean, like, using a smartphone, using GPS is something which is like, you every day you use, but for this group of people, it's really a huge change for them. And I think I would commend them for being open to these changes and wanting to learn. I mean, even though he was resistant in first, like, it's like, no, it's okay. I don't want to use WhatsApp. Never mind, I just call people. I don't use GPS. It's okay. I can memorize. But at the end of the day, he still learned and he managed to use it in his everyday life. So I was very, very proud of him for doing that. And also the company that actually was very patient with him, allowed him to take some time to train himself. Yeah, and he was a very good worker after that.
You guys should teach him how to use voice note.
Yeah. After that, he learned how to use voice note, and it was voice note all the way.
Not turning back anymore.
No more turning back already.
They like, please send us a message. I sent you a message. What? It's a different medium. Wow, I think I definitely understand. Sebab my dad is a taxi driver, so he is always I told him like maybe you should try Grab or like other platforms lah. Macam if you want to get more customers, it's like, I don't know how to use. I don't know how to use. But then like I mean I totally understand because he isn't aware about. He's not very quick with technology. And sometimes I pun kesian sebab kat safe entry he be like, it's my safe entry this phone. And then like I would just leave him too. Sorry But yeah, I think everything is so technology now.
Technology driven, right? Like they have to learn, otherwise they will feel really even more left out.
For example, macam Singapore Rediscover voucher. If you don't have an email, how are you gonna redeem it?
Yeah, that's so true. Like I saw my parents actually having to go to the CC.
Yeah.
Because they have that right for you to actually redeem at the counters. Like someone there will do it for you on your behalf. So
it's a lot. A lot has changed. I think even in these 2-3 years, I think banyak pun dah berubah.
For sure. And then like, parents, when you be like, oh, what's your password for this account?
How would I know?
So many passwords. Which account? SingPass lah, this one lah.
So I definitely understand where he is coming from. Takes a lot to change.
Relearn at that age.
At 50, say, how many people at 50 are willing to adopt a new skill?
Not easy.
But anyways, thank you, Syafiqah, for joining us today. Any last words you want to share with the community?
Thank you for having me. I hope this brings a lot more awareness on Yellow Ribbon's effort, as well as hoping that we can move together to be a more inclusive society.
Yes, inshallah.
Thank you.
All right, guys, for those who are listening, don't forget to watch and listen to our past episodes if you haven't. We have 4 seasons for you to listen and binge if you can. But anyways, thank you guys for listening or tuning in. We hope you enjoyed this episode. We will catch you at the next episode. Toodles, everybody. Whoa.
Alright guys, thanks for listening. So we'll see you on the next episode. Don't forget to give us a shout out on anchor.fm/The Halal Travel Podcast. Your voice message could be featured in our next episode.
Yep, and if you have any advertising and collaboration opportunities, contact us at info@halaltrip.com. That's info@halaltrip.com.
Also, don't forget to follow us on our Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Halal Trip. We're also now on Telegram and TikTok. Until next time, get inspired, go and inspire others.